The air crackled with tension on Maplewood Lane, where porch lights flickered like hesitant stars. Ethan Cole, 28, stood frozen on his front lawn, his heart pounding as a beer bottle shattered against his mailbox. Across the street, Harold Vance, a grizzled man in his 50s, bellowed slurs from his porch, his voice a jagged blade slicing through the evening calm. Ethan's partner, Liam Harper, 29, stepped out of their modest blue house, his curly blonde hair catching the fading sunlight. "Ignore him," Liam whispered, his hand finding Ethan's, grounding him. They'd moved to this quiet Portland suburb 6 months ago, chasing a dream of a simple life together. But Harold, their neighbor, had other plans, his hatred a daily ritual since the day he saw them kiss on their porch. Maplewood Lane was a patchwork of lives. Families, retirees, artists, and dreamers, all drawn to its tree-lined charm. Ethan, a graphic designer with a quick laugh and a knack for sketching wildflowers, had fallen for the neighborhood's warmth. Liam, a high school history teacher with a gentle voice and a fierce heart, saw it as a place to build a future. They'd saved for years to afford their fixer-upper, pouring love into every creaky floorboard and peeling wall. But Harold's venom poisoned their haven. His taunts, spray-painted slurs on their garage, trash strewn across their lawn, escalated with every passing week. Tonight felt different. Harold's eyes gleamed with something darker as he hurled another bottle, missing Ethan by inches. "You don't belong here," he roared, his voice echoing down the street. Ethan's pulse raced, but Liam's grip tightened, steadying him. "We're not going anywhere," Liam called back, his voice firm but trembling. Next door, Maria Delgado, a 40-year-old single mother and nurse, peeked through her curtains. Her teenage son, Javier, 16, stood beside her, his fists clenched. "Why's he so cruel?" Javier muttered, his dark eyes flashing. Maria sighed, her heart heavy. She'd seen Ethan and Liam at the community garden, laughing as they planted sunflowers, and it stirred memories of her own brother, ostracized for his identity years ago. She wanted to act but feared Harold's wrath. He'd intimidated half the block with his temper, his Confederate flag flapping defiantly in his yard. Across the street, Imon Khan, 32, a software engineer with a sharp mind and a quiet demeanor, watched from her porch. She'd moved to Maplewood for its diversity, but Harold's hatred made her question her choice. She exchanged a glance with her wife, Priya, 30, a photographer whose vibrant prints adorned local galleries. "We can't let this slide," Priya whispered, her voice thick with resolve. Aisha nodded, her thoughts racing. They'd faced whispers of prejudice before, but Harold's aggression was a storm brewing. By morning, the neighborhood buzzed with unease. Ethan and Liam found their mailbox defaced with a vicious slur, the paint still wet. Ethan's hands shook as he scrubbed it clean, his sketches of wildflowers forgotten. Liam knelt beside him, his usual optimism dimmed. "Maybe we should move," Ethan murmured, his voice breaking. Liam's jaw tightened. "No, this is our home." Word spread fast. At the community center, where Maplewood's residents gathered for book clubs and potlucks, whispers turned to plans. Javier, bold and restless, posted about Harold's harassment on the neighborhood's private forum. "Ethan and Liam don't deserve this," he typed, his words raw. Responses flooded in, outraged, supportive, uncertain. Maria read them, her resolve hardening. She'd stayed silent too long. Aisha and Priya hosted an impromptu meeting at their home, their living room filled with neighbors. Old Mr. Thompson, 78, a retired mechanic with a gruff exterior. Lynn Gwynn, 25, a barista with a punk streak. And the Patels, a couple in their 60s who'd lived on Maplewood for decades. "Harold's crossed a line," Aisha said, her voice steady. "We're a community." We stand together. Priya shared photos she'd taken of Ethan and Liam at the garden. Their hands intertwined, smiles bright. They're part of us, she said. We can't let hate win. Javier suggested a protest, his youthful energy infectious. Mr. Thompson grunted, skeptical but moved. I've seen this street change, he said. It's better with them here. The plan took shape. A peaceful gathering outside Harold's house. A show of unity. But fear lingered. Harold wasn't just loud, he was volatile. Lynn, who'd faced her own battles coming out as non-binary, spoke up. He wants us scared. Let's show him we're not. That evening, Ethan and Liam sat on their couch, the weight of the day heavy between them. Ethan traced the lines of Liam's palm, seeking comfort. What if this gets worse? He asked. Liam leaned in, their foreheads touching. Then we face it together, he said, his voice a quiet vow. Outside, the first signs of resistance flickered. A neighbor's porch light stayed on, a silent signal of solidarity. The next morning, Maplewood Lane awoke to a new energy. Porch lights glowed across the street, a chain of defiance against Harold's darkness. Ethan and Liam stepped outside, surprised to find Javier and Maria taping handmade signs to their fence. Love lives here, and Maplewood stands together. Ethan's eyes stung as he read them, his heart swelling with something like hope. At the community garden, neighbors gathered, their voices a mix of whispers and resolve. Aisha and Priya distributed flyers, their words bold. Join us tomorrow at 6 p.m. outside Harold Vance's house. Stand for love. Lynn painted banners with vibrant colors, their non-binary flag woven into the design. Mr. Thompson, usually gruff, brought coffee for everyone, his calloused hands steady as he poured. Ain't right what he's doing, he muttered, his eyes on Ethan and Liam. Harold, however, didn't back down. From his porch, he watched the activity, his scowl deepening. By noon, he'd nailed a new sign to his lawn. Keep Maplewood traditional. The words hit Ethan like a punch, but Liam's hand in his kept him grounded. He's just one voice, Liam said, though his own voice wavered. That afternoon, tension spiked. Harold stormed across the street, confronting Javier as he hung another sign. You're too young to understand, Harold spat, towering over the teen. Javier stood his ground, his dark eyes fierce. I understand hate, he shot back. Maria rushed out, pulling her son back, her nurse's calm masking her fury. Leave him alone, she said, her voice low but steel-sharp. Word of the confrontation spread, fueling the neighborhood's resolve. At the community center, the Patels shared stories of their own struggles as immigrants, drawing parallels to Ethan and Liam's fight. We came here for freedom, Mrs. Patel said, her voice thick with emotion. You deserve it too. Her husband nodded, his quiet strength an anchor for the group. By evening, the plan solidified. A peaceful march, signs and candles in hand, to show Harold that Maplewood rejected his hate. But doubts crept in. Lynn confided in Aisha about their fear of escalation. What if he lashes out? They asked, their voice small. Aisha squeezed their shoulder. Then we face him as one. The night before the protest, Ethan couldn't sleep. He sat at their kitchen table, sketching a sunflower, its petals bold against the page. Liam joined him, his presence a quiet comfort. I never wanted to be a symbol, Ethan admitted, his voice raw. I just wanted a home. Liam kissed his temple. You are my home, he said, and in that moment, the world felt smaller, safer. Across the street, Harold sat alone, his porch light off. He'd seen the signs, heard the whispers. Part of him relished the fight, but a flicker of unease stirred. Maplewood wasn't bending to his will. It was rising against him. The morning of the protest dawned crisp and clear. Neighbors gathered early, their numbers growing. Javier and Maria arrived first, their signs high. Aisha and Priya linked arms, their faces resolute. Lynn carried a banner that read, "Hate has no home here," their hands steady despite their nerves. Even Mr. Thompson showed up, his old flannel swapped for a clean shirt, a quiet nod to the cause. Ethan and Liam hesitated at their doorstep, fear and hope warring within them. "We don't have to do this," Liam said, his eyes searching Ethan's. But Ethan shook his head, his jaw set. "We do. For us. For them." As they joined the crowd, applause rippled through the group. Maria hugged them both, her eyes shining. Javier grinned, his bravado back. "We got your back," he said. The Patels offered candles, their warmth a quiet promise. Aisha and Priya stood close, their presence a shield. By 6 p.m., over 50 neighbors lined Maplewood Lane, their candles flickering like stars. Harold stepped onto his porch, his face a mask of rage. "Go home," he shouted, but his voice cracked, drowned by the crowd's chant. "Love lives here. Love lives here." The chant grew louder, a heartbeat pulsing through Maplewood Lane. Ethan and Liam stood at the front, their hands clasped, their faces lit by candlelight. Harold's porch seemed smaller now, his figure diminished against the tide of neighbors. But his eyes burned, and when he grabbed a megaphone, the crowd tensed. "You're tearing this neighborhood apart," Harold bellowed, his voice amplified but unsteady. "This is my home, and you're ruining it." His words stung, but Ethan felt the crowd's strength behind him. Liam squeezed his hand, a silent vow. "We're not alone." Aisha stepped forward, her voice clear. "This is our home, Harold, and Ethan and Liam are part of it." Cheers erupted, drowning Harold's retort. Priya raised her camera, capturing the moment. Neighbors of all ages, backgrounds, and stories united against hate. Javier held his sign higher, his defiance a spark. Maria stood beside him, her nurse's calm now a warrior's resolve. Harold's face reddened. He hurled insults, each one uglier than the last, but the crowd didn't falter. Lynn's banner caught the breeze, its message bold. "Hate has no home here." Mr. Thompson, usually silent, shouted, "You're the one who doesn't belong." The words surprised even him, but they felt right. Then, a new voice joined the fray. Clara Evans, 65, a retired librarian who rarely left her house, stepped forward with a megaphone of her own. "I've lived here 40 years, she said, her voice trembling but strong. "I've seen love grow here, in all its forms. You, Harold, are the one breaking our community." The crowd roared, candles raised high. Harold faltered, his megaphone lowering. For the first time, doubt flickered in his eyes. But he wasn't done. He stormed inside, slamming his door, and moments later, loud music blared from his house. A desperate attempt to drown out the protest. The neighbors didn't budge. They sang instead, an impromptu chorus of a folk song Lynn knew, their voices weaving a tapestry of defiance. As the night deepened, the protest evolved into something more, a celebration. Neighbors shared stories, their candles pooling light on the pavement. Maria spoke of her brother, whose courage inspired her. Aisha and Priya shared their own journey, their love a quiet rebellion against a world that sometimes turned cold. Ethan listened, his heart full. He hadn't expected this family they'd found. But the victory felt fragile. Late that night, after the crowd dispersed, Ethan and Liam found their front door splattered with red paint. A note was nailed to it, "Leave or else." Ethan's breath caught, fear clawing at him. Liam pulled him close, his voice steady. "He's scared," Liam said. "That's why he's doing this." The next morning, the neighborhood rallied again. Maria and Javier scrubbed the paint alongside Aisha and Priya, their hands working in quiet sync. Lynn organized a cleanup crew, their energy fierce. Mr. Thompson brought his toolbox, fixing the mailbox Harold had damaged weeks ago. "He ain't winning," he grunted, hammering a nail with more force than needed. Clara, inspired by the protest, dug through her old files and found something damning. Harold had violated multiple neighborhood bylaws with his actions, from property damage to public disturbances. She shared it with Aisha, who worked with a lawyer friend to draft a formal complaint. "He's not untouchable," Aisha said, her eyes gleaming with purpose. By afternoon, the community center buzzed with new plans. Javier suggested a pride event in the garden, a bold reclaiming of their space. Priya offered to document it, her camera ready to capture every smile. Ethan and Liam hesitated, wary of more backlash, but the neighbors' enthusiasm was infectious. "We're doing this for all of us," Lynn said, their voice fierce. That evening, Ethan sketched again, this time a portrait of the crowd, their faces alive with courage. Liam watched, his hand resting on Ethan's shoulder. "We're not just fighting for us anymore," Liam said softly. "We're fighting for them too." Maplewood Lane transformed over the next week. The community garden bloomed with new signs. "Love is love," painted on wooden planks, rainbow flags fluttering beside sunflowers. Ethan and Liam walked through it daily, their hands linked, drawing strength from the colors. But Harold's silence worried them. He'd gone quiet since the protest, his porch empty, his flag gone. Felt like the calm before a storm. The Pride event took shape, set for Saturday in the garden. Javier and Lynn led the charge, organizing booths, music, and a potluck. Maria baked her famous empanadas, her hands steady despite her nerves. Aisha and Priya designed posters, their love for the project spilling into every detail. Even Mr. Thompson chipped in, building a small stage with his old tools. "Gotta make it right," he said, his gruff voice soft. Clara's complaint gained traction. The neighborhood association reviewed it, and whispers of legal action against Harold spread. Aisha's lawyer friend confirmed the violations could lead to fines or worse, but Ethan felt uneasy. "What if this pushes him too far?" he asked Liam one night, his sketchbook open to a half-finished drawing of their home. Liam kissed his forehead. "Then we'll face it. Together." Saturday arrived, vibrant and alive. The garden hummed with laughter, music, and the clink of glasses. Neighbors of all ages filled the space, their diversity a quiet rebuke to Harold's hate. Javier manned a face-painting booth, his grin infectious as he painted rainbows on kids' cheeks. Lynn performed a spoken-word piece, their words sharp and hopeful, earning cheers. Priya's camera clicked, capturing Ethan and Liam dancing slowly to a soft melody, their love a beacon. Across the street, Harold watched from his window, his face unreadable. The joy infuriated him, but the crowd's size, over 100 strong, gnawed at his resolve. He'd always seen Maplewood as his domain, but now it felt foreign, alive with a spirit he couldn't grasp. Midway through the event, a police car pulled up. The crowd stilled, fear flickering. 2 officers stepped out, approaching Ethan and Liam. "We got a noise complaint," one said, his tone neutral. Ethan's heart sank, but Clara stepped forward, her librarian's poise unshaken. "I filed a complaint against Harold Vance," she said, handing over documents. "He's been harassing this couple for months." The officers skimmed the papers, their expressions shifting. They crossed to Harold's house, knocking firmly. He answered, his face pale, and after a tense conversation, the officers issued him a warning. "Keep it civil, Mr. Vance," one said before leaving. The crowd exhaled, their resolve hardening. As night fell, the event grew softer, more intimate. Neighbors lit candles, their flames mirroring the stars. Ethan and Liam stood together, their arms around each other, watching the glow. Maria approached, her eyes warm. "You've given us something to fight for," she said. Javier nodded, his usual bravado softened. "You're family now." But the night wasn't over. At midnight, a brick crashed through Ethan and Liam's window, glass shattering across their living room. A note was tied to it, "Last warning." Ethan's hands shook as he read it, fear choking him. Liam called the police, his voice steady but his eyes haunted. The neighbors rallied again, Maria and Aisha staying over, their presence a shield. By morning, the police had Harold in custody. The brick matched debris in his yard, and Clara's complaint gave them grounds to act. He faced charges for vandalism and harassment, his defiance crumbling under scrutiny. Maplewood Lane breathed easier, but Ethan and Liam felt the weight of their fight. Harold's arrest sent ripples through Maplewood Lane, but the scars he'd left lingered. Ethan and Liam spent days cleaning glass from their floor, their home feeling both fragile and sacred. The neighborhood didn't let them face it alone. Maria and Javier brought meals, Aisha and Priya helped board up the window, and Lynn painted a mural on the boards. A sunflower framed by a rainbow, bold and unbroken. The community garden became a sanctuary. Neighbors gathered daily, planting new flowers, sharing stories. Ethan sketched the scene, his pencil capturing Javier's grin, Maria's quiet strength, Lynn's fierce spirit. Liam watched, his heart full. "We didn't just survive," he said one evening, his voice soft. "We built something." Harold's trial was swift. He pleaded guilty to lesser charges, facing fines and community service. Some neighbors wanted harsher punishment, but Ethan and Liam felt differently. "He's lost his power," Ethan said, his voice steady. "That's enough." Liam nodded, his hand finding Ethan's. They didn't want vengeance, they wanted peace. Clara uncovered more. Harold had been grieving a personal loss, his anger a warped outlet for pain. It didn't excuse him, but it humanized him. Maria suggested inviting him to the garden, a controversial idea. "He needs to see what we're about," she said. Most disagreed, but Ethan felt a spark of compassion. "Maybe he could change," he said, though doubt lingered. The neighborhood association banned Harold from future disruptions, and his house went up for sale. Rumors spread that he'd moved to a smaller town, seeking a fresh start. Maplewood Lane moved on, its spirit stronger. The Pride event became an annual tradition, each year bigger, brighter. Priya's photos lined the community center, a testament to their fight. 1 year later, Ethan and Liam stood in the garden, their hands intertwined, the sunset painting them in gold. The neighborhood bustled around them, kids laughing, neighbors chatting. Javier, now 17, ran a new booth, teaching kids to draw. Lynn performed again, their words soaring. Maria hugged them both, her empanadas a hit. Aisha and Priya danced nearby, their love a mirror to Ethan and Liam's. Ethan pulled Liam close, their foreheads touching, the world fading away. "We made it," he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. Liam smiled, his eyes shining. "We did, and we're not alone." Maplewood Lane wasn't perfect, but it was theirs, a mosaic of lives woven together by courage and love. The signpost in the garden, carved with "Love Wins in Maplewood," stood tall, its words a promise kept.